involved, or if Chihoi just had some counter spells, clock in the form of Vendilion Click, and was able to take it down that way. But regardless, I think Chihoi has a pretty good plan in this matchup.
Yeah, I actually think on the high tide side, if there is not a counterbalance involved, I actually am very comfortable being on the high tide side of this. You know, what does Chihoi do? He Vendilion clicks me and casts counter spells. Like, I'm ready to fight a counter war with high tide. That's fine. High tide loves counter wars, but I don't like counter wars when my opponent has an enchantment that's just sitting there countering everything.
Yeah, I definitely agree with
okay.
you. I would much rather be on the no counterbalance versus counterbalance plan. You know, like
yeah.
I'm much happier playing those games. But you see Chihoi playing this Vendilion Click. His hand is full of blue cards and 2 Force of Wills.
Looks like we are on, Feline was on the play. This is turn 4. He's going to go ahead on Feline's end step, cast a Vendilion Click. Feline will pitch Time Spiral to force it. Will Chihoi force back? You have to think Feline has another Time Spiral if she's going for that play.
Yeah, or is maybe floating one on top with the Sensei's Divining Top. That's also a possibility.
Absolutely. Chihoi wants to fight over this. He pitches Jace to a Force of Will of his own. You see his hand. It looks like there are a pair of counterbalances.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how high tide enjoys this matchup going along, assuming there is no counterbalance in play. Chihoi realizes this. He wants his click to resolve, not only to disrupt Feline, but also to just get a clock going.
Feline's going to cast Brainstorm here. Both forces, as you see in the middle of the table, they are still on the stack. She's going to draw 3, crack a fetch, and you can tell by the speed of play that she's found something she likes here.
Or she's eager to look at the top 3.
Okay, or she found nothing, and she's like, all right, well, we got to find something. Looks like she has Force of Will, Cunning Wish, and her own counterbalance in hand right now. How fun would that be if both players get to have countertop?
Well, once one person gets countertop, it's pretty tough for the other person to assemble it.
Yeah, you have a little bit of time, right? Chihoi, what if one has top and one has counterbalance? Then, like, okay, now we're interesting, right? Like,
yeah, kind of. I like the top side of things.
I tend to agree. So I would still like Feline's odds in that situation. She's going to play Force of Will, pitching Cunning Wish, going down to 1 card here to fight over this Vendilion Click. She values this card quite a bit, this countertop lock.
I think she just doesn't want to be put under pressure.
Yeah, wants to keep Chihoi. Like, Chihoi does not have very many threats when you look at his deck. You know, he is notorious for playing almost no win cons. You see he has 6 creatures. So, and his turn was cast counterbalance, say go. Both players with very few cards in hand. There is a red or a Pyroblast in Chihoi's hand. So if Feline goes for this counterbalance on her turn, it's not going to work unless she has counterspell backup. And she'll try for counterbalance. Chihoi has both counterspell proper and Pyroblast. And what a beating. The top card of the deck is Sensei's Divining Top.
Yeah, and then you get the Pyroblast, your opponent's counterbalance, potentially set up the soft lock yourself next turn.
So can Feline find a counterspell? If she can right now, Chihoi is out of answers. She has Merchant Scroll in hand. It is possible. What do you think about her going back and, like, she can't, I was going to say, like, scroll for Pact of Negation. You can't really do that yet.
You'd have to, like, not on 4 lands.
You'd have to, like, scroll for Pact Negation and then tap top and hope to just hit a land.
Or alternatively, scroll for Force and try and hit a blue card.
Yeah, she's going to instead scroll for Wipe Away. And that's something you can do. It seems like a bit of a losing fight, though. You know Chihoi has counterbalance in play and has top on the top of his deck. Bouncing cards are good, but...
Well, I think she just wants to build up a big enough hand and then use Wipe Away to get rid of the counterbalance or the top for a turn.
Yeah.
But it's tough to do that when Chihoi knows that the Wipe Away is there.
He knows it's there, and on top of that, Chihoi has a second counterbalance.
Okay.
And we'll see if Feline plays an Echoing Truth or not. I mean, first of all, it would have, like, never mind the fact that it would have to resolve. That's a pretty big if. But it's going to, you know, she's lost the countertop fight, and that's a pretty tough spot to be in here. You see Merchant Scroll is cast. Yeah, we're looking at her board here. Does not have Echoing Truth. So I don't believe, yeah.
Feline just flashed, I think it said it's over, up to the camera.
I mean, I don't disagree.
Yeah.
This is not where she wants to be. There was a good opportunity for her here. And you know, you have to think, okay, was there a different set of sequencing that could have happened? Was this, you know, it seemed like Chihoi had the fight covered.
Yeah,
But,
I
you
mean,
know,
what if you don't fight over the Vendilion? Chi-Hoi gets to maybe take Feline's counterbalance, and then you're just like, okay, I'm under this clock, and I don't have my counterbalance anymore, but I still have all my counter spells. And at least then you have more turns as opposed to just getting put into this lock that you can't really interact with.
yeah, maybe if you just try to, like, on 4 mana, you just run out counterbalance and try for it, but that probably meets the same fate, right? Where you just lose the counter war. Well, maybe not.
Well, maybe, yeah, because she could let her forces get countered, let Chi-Hoi's Vendilion resolve, and then she would effectively have an extra counter spell in that fight. So she gets to stop the first counterbalance, or maybe the top. That's probably the better card to go after.
Yeah, I mean, if she'd gone for counterbalance on turn 4, I think Chi-Hoi, his backup, had Red Blast, Counterspell Proper, and Force of Will. He had, I believe, triple answer.
Okay.
And Feline only had 2 forces, so she'd lose the fight.
Yeah, so I think she was just going to lose a fight over no matter what was going on. Like whether she was fighting over like Chi-Hoi's counterbalance, her own counterbalance, or Chi-Hoi's Vendilion click.
Yeah, fighting for Vendilion click seems fine to me because he's basically, he's going to now, like, you're countering him whether you want to counter him or not because he can take a counterspell. And so, like, it seems reasonable to fight there, especially when Chi-Hoi's down on mana.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, when we switched over to this match, that's what was going on. And I was like, yeah, this is a perfectly reasonable thing to be going on.
Yeah. And now we are in that spot in the game that's very tough for Feline to win. And there's a chance that she can just draw a counterbalance, cast it, and Chi-Hoi can just not have a 2. That is, I think, what that's like, to me, seems to be her out.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. In the meantime, Chi-Hoi is trying to find some sort of clock, and end of turn, we see a top activation, Miracling Entreat the Angels.
Well, that will certainly speed things up.
Yeah, and Chi-Hoi's trying to get aggressive here, and I like that. Don't,
12 power.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you don't need 12 power. Maybe, you do it for 2, play around Flusterstorm or something.
And it seems reasonable enough.
And it's still a 2-turn clock regardless.
Feline still can't cast spells. I do want to invite something. Let's go to the world where Feline has countertop and Chi-Hoi has countertop, right? And they're both sitting there with no cards in hand.
Could
nothing.
we not?
Oh, no, my question. Okay, my question is, like, who's winning? You know? I think it's Chi-Hoi, right? His deck is, like, better suited to just play this long. I don't even know. Where would you know? They both have countertop.
Yeah, I mean, Chi-Hoi has a lot of good cards. You know, he has a lot of like Pyroblast, Counterspell. Like all of his cards are cheap though, so they walk into Feline's counter.
So countertop shuts him down pretty hard, whereas Feline has stuff like Cast Time Spiral.
Yeah, just hard cast Time Spiral on 6, or just cast Cunning Wish, try and get Wipe Away to break it up. Chi-Hoi doesn't have that many 3-drops in his deck.
Yeah, I don't know how she gets the second counterbalance off the board though. Like once there's a second one down.
Yeah,
I mean, we're in territory where she's got to set up like a cap size and start capsizing them.
Sure.
And I don't know. I don't know if that works. It'd be interesting to say the least. Yeah, I'm not sure if anyone gets to play Magic anymore. We'll see here though. Where we are at, Feline casting Cunning Wish.
No,
It was,
that already resolved. She got Cunning Wish, got Flusterstorm, countered the
counter
Entreat
the
the Angels.
Entreat. Now spinning top, but it's, this begs the question, with 2 tops and 2 counterbalances, what is she even looking for? And I don't have a great answer to it. And this is one of the debates, which I think has been taking place with a lot of the high-tide players. Like, Miracle's rise to prominence has been very difficult for this deck. She's going to go for counterbalance here. And a lot of that has to do with your inability to interact with this board state. One of the arguments is, like, you can, instead of playing Flusterstorms, you can play Swan Songs. That way you can maybe counterbalance. But, like, it's still not great, Yeah. Swan Song's way worse in a counter war.
Right, and you saw how much Feline wanted to fight over that Vendilion click, right? And I think that was correct. And by playing Swan Song, you counter their counterbalance, but you just create the clock for them. So it's like you solve one problem, but create another.
Yeah, it's not great. You saw their Feline, as a last-ditch effort, threw out a counterbalance, hoping to get her own countertop online, but Chi-Hoi had found the Snapcaster and was floating it on top. He was able to then cast it. He spins atop again and has a Counterspell Proper in his as a possible card here. just seems like he's going to go ahead and seize control.
Yeah, it certainly seems like that. As far as things that Feline can do to potentially win this game, it might actually just be like end of turn, wipe away one of your counterbalances. Okay, that resolves. Untap, hard cast time spiral, shuffle away one of your counterbalances. Maybe find the wipe away again and just like try to do stuff like that. I mean, it's not pretty. It's almost certainly not going to work, but that's certainly a plan, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. Like, right, if they go turn in this matchup, if your opponent's on the plate and just plays turn 1 top, turn 2 counterbalance, just like straight has them both. Like, you feel like you've lost. It's turn 2 and you're like, okay, the game's over. I'm done. I can't win. Which, it's not a great spot to be in.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the hope that you can win, but it's very, very unlikely. Yeah, like you get in these situations like the one that Feline is in now, where she just continually test spells Chihoi to see what he has floating on top, and like maybe something resolves. But she's just like merchant scroll, and Chihoi just like, yeah, counter it. And she's just like, okay, well, what about this? Chihioi's like, yeah, I'll counter that too. And it's just like the slow bleed from a Snapcaster mage.
I mean, it's 6 turns away, right? Maybe, I mean, the good thing, Feline can't kill creatures. The Snapcaster is probably just going to keep hitting. Like, she could bounce it. I bet Chihoi would let her bounce it.
Yeah.
That's fine. An update from our bracket. The third match has finished. This was the one between Elf Combo and Shardless Bug. It did go to 3, as you said. Both players think it's good. But in the end, James Hess playing Elves 2 games to 1 did take down the match.
That's not surprising. I mean, we were talking about this earlier where James Hess seems like a very experienced Elves player.
Yeah. I'm interested about that matchup. If Hess can make the finals, mainly because when I was trying to brainstorm, okay, decks that I think Blue-Green Infect has trouble with, I was like, all right, Elves was near the top of my list.
Yeah, you're just like, maybe Elves, right?
Maybe Elves. Well, it's okay. Okay, they can't swing through these creatures. You know, Elves is a combo deck. Elves has just as fast of a clock as Infect does. So
yeah.
They're just as fast. They can block their stuff. They have a lot of interaction here. Yeah, Elves. Elves is a good answer. And then we saw it on camera, and no Infect won. So like, okay. Well, but at the same time, the Elves player didn't really know, like, hadn't played the matchup before. And, like, what I like is that James Hess is, like, clearly a veteran Elves player. So I'm like, okay, I would like to see what he does in this matchup. Now, granted, to get there, he has to make his way through what it looks like Chihoi Yim's Miracles deck. And I know that's not a good matchup for Elves.
No, certainly not. I mean, even if top counterbalance was not a problem, Terminus certainly is.
Yeah, Terminus is a problem. Counter top on 1 is a problem. Chihoi's deck is very good at killing all the creatures over and over.
Yeah. So now Feline keeps digging, and I think we're just going through the motions here. I know that she thinks that this matchup is certainly not good for her, and I'm not sure if she has a plan for when she gets into spots like this.
No, the plan is to you don't have much, right? You're playing blue, so you don't actually get to kill permanents. You can wipe away a counterbalance for a turn, but the way that Chihoi gets around there is just redundancy. You know, play another counterbalance,
right.
Play another top. Just make sure this lock never leaves, because Feline can't win with this lock on the stack. She has to break it up, but it's so redundant that just doesn't seem like something she's going to be able to do.
Yeah, I think if it was just a top and a counterbalance, she could potentially fight through that. But at this point with 3 tops, how do you ever resolve a high tide, you know? If it's just top and counterbalance, you can cast a high tide. They'll probably respond by tapping top to draw a card. Response, you can cast another high tide.
Yeah, and there is an interesting thing here. So we talked a little bit with some other players and like things they've been trying in high tide to win this matchup. You know, one of the things that Scott Feline playing counterbalances was this matchup. She's like, okay, I need to do something here.
Yeah, if I get it down first, maybe something
maybe I can win. You know, because like as before, they're just like you had defense grids, and you're like, maybe that's it, but no, they just play counterbalance. One of the more interesting things, and we were talking about this was actually proposed by Joe Lissette, is playing a couple Devastation Tides in the deck. This is a miracle card. For 2 mana, it miracles and bounces all permanents.
And the converted mana cost is
unfortunate.
5.
So it's 5, like.
No, I don't think that's a bad thing. It's like, sure.
They have one.
Yeah, Chihoi actually has Force of Will, but if he has a Force of Will floating, you actually just use that to counter your spell.
Okay, so, but if he doesn't have the counter spell, you know, that is a card, like, and I'm not saying you have to play that card. Like, it's pretty situational. There's some matchups where it'll just be real bad, but like, that is a magic card that could win from this spot, whereas Feline right now, I think, has 0 in her 75 that can win from here.
Well, she's going for it. She's at 1 life. She's casting a high tide.
This is one thing I love about Feline Longmore's feature matches. Just this, all right, last hitch. All right, I'm gonna go for it. Maybe he won't see to put the top on top.
She's a battler.
Yeah. All right. It's counted. I'm gonna play my own top. You still have a 1 on top. Okay. How about this divining top?
Oh,
all right. Nope.
The top's still there.
Nope. He still sees it. How about candelabra? I would have let her had the candelabra.
Storm count 4.
Right? If you're Chihoi, you should just let her have the candelabra. But there she goes. She flusterstorms her own spell, and he can't counter the flusterstorm copies, so she's going to get to do that one.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a way to make Chihoi sweat there just a little bit. You're like, I'm going to double brain freeze you. And they just like
counter spell, counter my own spell, brain freeze.
Yeah, and they're just like, uh-oh, and then it's just like, no, I just have all 1-drops. Never mind.
That is true. So there you have it. 2-0. Chihoi Yim takes down Feline Longmore. He and his Miracles deck are into the top 4 with you will play against James Hess and Elf Combo.
Yeah, and